Are mines good in Helldivers 2? Well, Helldivers, that's what we're going to figure out today. So get to your pods and let's drop in. Alright, Helldivers, we're back. And today we're going to try to make mines work in Helldivers 2 as far as a main focus for a loadout or a build. But before we do that, I want to check the major order and kind of see where we're at, because this one seemed a little bit tough. Now we have 3 days left and we're supposed to kill a shit ton of automatons, shredder tanks, terminids, and bile titans. And it really just looks like we're lacking on the bot front. Now additionally, you can see that the singularity there is getting pretty close to its next target. I'm wondering how many more planets this thing's gonna take out before we eventually get that blockade up. And then I think another major event will happen after that, shortly after. So I'm very excited to see where this narrative is going, and then what kind of big update we're gonna get after that. But as far as the major order is concerned, 3 days left. I think we can get it done. I just feel like at the tail end of this major order, yeah, we're gonna need to make a big push against the automatons. Now, to help fight against the automatons, let's go ahead and head over to what we're going to be doing in this video, which is making a build or loadout centered around mines. The fantasy and the theme that we're going to be going for is kind of like this trapper hunter type of character. I think this build and this loadout can actually work really well as kind of a lone wolf. And you'll see what I mean once we get to like the overview section. We have the whole like loadout played out. But if we're going to go a hunter type, well, we got to go with the crossbow. Luckily, the crossbow is still one of the best primary weapons in the game against all the factions across the board. Now I'm going to move myself slightly so you can see all the stats for it, but this thing is an absolute powerhouse and it fits perfectly with the theme that we're going for. Additionally, next to that, because the crossbow, and it has that explosive damage, if enemies get up close to you, there's a good chance you'll like ragdoll yourself. So taking a sidearm like the Verdict, really any of these will work for you. But in the gameplay, you're probably going to see me using the Verdict a lot. Oh, hell, you could actually use a melee weapon as well, but I'm just going to go with the Verdict. It's very well-rounded, medium penetration, solid sidearm here. Now for the throwables, Thermite is still just so damn good against the bots and the bugs as far as dealing with their heavy targets. So I'm talking about the Hulks, tanks, turrets, and then on the bug front, chargers, all the different variations of chargers, impalers, even hell, in a pinch, bile titans, this thing can kill. Now, against the squids, I actually don't recommend the Thermite. I don't really think it excels very well against them, mainly because they only have one heavy unit. So a crowd control option like the incendiary grenades, let's talk about the secret grenade for a second here. I liked the idea of this thing for taking out elevated overseers, but it's just not consistent on the target that you're kind of throwing it towards. There are some times where this secret grenade will do what you want it to, and it feels really good, again, to take out those elevated overseers simply with your grenade. But it has a consistency problem for that specific role that I wanted to achieve. So maybe not the best recommendation, but it can work. Honestly, any of these grenades can work for this loadout. Now, when it comes to armor, I'm going with something like the scout armor, because again, I'm going to be playing kind of this cat and mouse game, this little bit of guerrilla warfare where it's a lot of running away. So having really high speed and stamina regen, not going to hurt. Also, the scout passive there, pretty good at reducing enemies being able to detect you, giving you plenty of time to basically set up your minefield or like your killing floor. But when shit hits the fan and things get a little more active, having something like with fortified as far as an armor passive is not a bad option either, just because explosive damage your mines. This will help you survive a little bit. And obviously, if we want to talk about survivability, something like Democracy Protects, always a good option. But for the gameplay here, you're going to see me using the scout armor just so I can be very mobile, very fast, in and out, and basically throwing mines down whenever I can and getting the hell out. And as always with boosters, you just kind of got to fill those in for what your team needs. Now heading over to the stratagems. So all the mines basically fall under the engineering bay. So something like the anti-personnel mines, the incendiary mines, the anti-tank mines, and the gas mine. Those are the 4 that you're going to work with. Although I don't necessarily recommend that you take a full loadout of mines. A little bit of overkill, and I think that sweet spot is somewhere taking 2 to 3 of the mines. I would always take the anti-tank mines. These are really good at taking out heavy targets. They do struggle against something like bile titans, and that's basically just because of their model and the way it's rigged. And the mines, yeah, they're just not very effective against them. They're a little bit better against something like a factory strider, but where the mine, this anti-tank mine really excels is Hulks, chargers, impalers, tanks, stuff like that. Anti-tank mines are really good against that. Now, when it comes to the other three, gas mines and the incendiaries, these are really good against the bugs and the squids. And then you have your anti-personnel mines, which are just kind of like all-around chaff. So when it comes to this loadout, and say we're going against the bugs, I would take something like the anti-personnel, the incendiary, and then the anti-tank. So when it comes to each faction, you're just gonna have to tailor pick which ones you take. Like something like the incendiaries, I don't know if I'd necessarily recommend it against the bots. It's okay, but I would much rather have that anti-personnel and then the anti-tank for them. So just know between each faction, you're gonna have to like pick and choose. Like gas is really good against the squids and the bugs, like I said earlier. And additionally with these mines, they're all on actually a very short cooldown, so you can spam these. Now, when you're taking 2 to 3 of these mines, what else are you taking here? Stratagem wise, I think having the jump pack, again, for more mobility, is a great option here. I love the jump pack. Additionally, you're gonna want something that can help out against those bile titans, those factory striders, and hell, even harvesters, because again of their rigging. So something like the commando, kind of looking for an all-rounder. Commando's really good. Railgun would be really good. But if you're not going to take something like a jump pack, then the autocannon, recoilless rifle, we just need that stratagem weapon to really help out against, again, those more massive targets that the mines aren't necessarily the best at taking out. You're probably going to see me being a little goofy in the gameplay. I'm pretty sure I'm just taking the jump pack some of the times, and I have 3 mines. And that way I'm playing kind of into that more scavenger type of gameplay, which I do enjoy, actually just scavenging around, looking for your own stratagem weapon while using the jump pack. I think that's actually a really fun playstyle. Or actually, you know, borrowing one of your other Helldivers, one of their weapons. That could be fun too. Now in the overview section here, how does this build playing? What do we do with these mines here? Well, there's a couple things you need to understand about your mines. One, if you're going to spam them, you need to be very, very careful as far as what you're putting them around. Like, do not drop these things on objectives like raise the flag, your evacuations where you have the colonists go to those the shuttle, the safe bunker. Do not put the mines down there. Kind of fucking obvious, right? Additionally, you kind of almost have to have the same mindset as you do when you make, I would say, if you had like a full sentry build where you want to be able to set up your mines and essentially create a killing floor. So really kind of preemptively decide, okay, I'm going to set these mines down here, and then I'm going to either bait or have the enemy chase you into a minefield. That's why I have something like the jump pack is really helpful, because if you have a minefield already set up and you have the aggro of a patrol, well, then you can just use your jump pack to safely get over all the mines and again lure those enemies into that killing field. So it's going to be a lot of that cat and mouse gameplay of setting down mines and then luring enemies into them. Now you can use these mines reactively as well. Say you have a bot drop or a bug breach, just throwing mines down on top of those is really, really good still. And I would think in those cases, yeah, you can actually just spam those down and they're going to get a lot of kills for you, especially with the gas and the incendiary, because those lingering effects are just going to keep killing all the small chaff over and over again. Now, I mentioned earlier in the video that this is kind of a lone wolf build, because mines can be, they're a double-edged sword, because if you just have dumb teammates, they're going to keep blowing themselves up over and over. And so you don't really want to aggravate your teammates with them. You don't want to be blocking paths or lanes that they want to go into or that are to like clear objectives paths. You don't want to block that off with mines. So it might actually be better to always kind of be like on the tail end of the party or off doing your own thing, basically just thinning out the herds, taking out like hives or those automaton factories. Because similar to like an orbital barrage build where you just throw those suckers down and then you get the hell out, this kind of can work in the same way where you throw down a bunch of mines, you get the enemies all aggravated chasing you, and then you get the heck out and then you just watch your kills tick up over and over. Now, even though these mines do have a short cooldown, the crossbow is so good at taking out all the different types of chaff. And then when you have something like your verdict as a sidearm to help out with something like a hunter pack jumping on you, and then you have your thermite for, I would say, hulks, charges that get into your face, your loadout kit here, you're not going to feel like you're ever really lacking. The only thing I would say this build might struggle with is, again, those massive targets like a bile titan, like a factory strider. Really, those 2 units are the ones I'd keep coming back to, where I'm like, ugh, you're really going to have to play like almost like the long game with them. But other than that, this is it's a very different and it's a very fun playstyle. I was actually waiting a little bit longer till we got more mines. Actually, I wanted to see the gas mines and how those really performed before putting together a full kit. And I do love the gas mines versus squids and the bugs. Pots, not so much, but the gas, it is very fun to use those against the other two. But that's the kit. That's the overview of the loadout. The real key points are, yeah, cat and mouse game, guerrilla warfare, throwing these things down, baiting them into people. And if you play this correctly, man, when you're extracting, you will have like the safest extraction ever, because you essentially create this no man's land of fucking just this minefield of death that enemy patrols when they're trying to get to you, you know, in the later stages of an extraction, they just can't because of just this wall of death that you've created. Either there's gas up, there's fire up, and then again, the short cooldown, yeah, you can be using these things over and over. Obviously, with this playstyle, things like defensive missions, these mines really excel at. The only real drawbacks with this build is, yeah, you got to watch your footing. You got to watch where you're putting them down in case you don't want to really piss off your teammates with how many minefields can be everywhere. Because let's be honest, some of the times these things kind of activate when you aren't necessarily on top of them, and then other times they won't activate when enemies go over them. So there are some nuances with this build. Is it the best build ever? No, not really, but it is viable and it's a different playstyle that's a lot of fun. So let me know if you guys have made like a trapper hunter type of build, usually incorporating a lot of mines. I'm curious to see how people like mines lately, because honestly, I don't really see too many of them when I'm dropping in. But with this build and this loadout, yeah, I've had a good time with it. I've always wanted to make that hunter type, so I think this definitely scratches that itch. But anyways, that's the video. If you guys made it this far, thank you very much. Consider hitting that like and subscribe button. And I think the next video we're going to be doing basically an update to probably one of my most popular videos, strangely enough, which is The Mandalorian. We're going to do a 2.0 video on that, and kind of with our updated kit, because when I made that video, we didn't have something like the crisper. So that'll be a kind of a fun video to revisit. So anyways, look forward to that, and I will see you guys next time. Peace and take care.